Polished-ish is where real stories meet real lessons. Hosts Ruma, Julianne, and Gerry share unfiltered conversations about failure, growth, and the messy beauty of life, proving that imperfection is where the magic happens. So pull up a chair, because life isn't polished, it's polished-ish. Welcome to Polished-ish, where life isn't polished and either are we. I'm Gerry Summers.
I'm Ruma. I'm Julianne Worm, and this is Polished Dish. So you guys, I'm taking this gardening class, right? And it struck me today, and I definitely wanted to talk to you about it. So I'm in this class, which I love. People say there's no such thing as a dumb question, but there are, right? Dumb questions exist. But it's just a fact. I mean, as soon as someone says that, I'm like, don't ask it. Please don't ask it. But, right, it's like, no, if you have to preface it with, oh, this might be a dumb question, Google it before you ask it out loud.
It's probably a dumb question.
Yeah. So I was thinking about that today because that's exactly what happened in my class, right? And I was like, lies, those are all lies. If people tell you there are no such thing as dumb questions, that's a lie. But it made me think about how, like, even that tiny people like exerting themselves that kind of tiny bit, like maybe just do a quick scan on your question before you put it out there. It made me think about how there's kinds of people, and I want to be one of those that makes that extra effort, right? That it's like can find the answers or comes with solutions. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like who's been in a conversation, a professional setting, even a personal setting, where all we're doing is talking about nitpicking what's wrong. And it's so rare that someone comes in and is like, hey, how about we become solution oriented? How might we fix this or make it better? And it to me, it makes me kind of think that it's a little bit of the same kind of personality vibe. It's like, find the answer to that question. Or when I was teaching kids, you'd say, have you asked 3 people before you came to me? And sometimes I feel like I have to say that to adults, right? Have you checked with 3 of your classmates before you brought that problem to my desk? Anyway, I was kind of laughing about it, and I wanted to throw that out to you guys because I'm sure you have experience with this.
Oh, yeah. How many of us know people who love to talk about problems? We love it. We love to say what is wrong with things. Like, oh my God, it's so difficult to find parking. Like, there's so much traffic on 101. People just love living in the problem space, right? And I think somewhere they take a lot because it's like somewhere that also living in the problem gives you a sense of like, I can't do anything about it. But living in the solution phase actually is empowering, right? So it's one is helplessness, the other is empowerment. And so, I personally know many, and I find it exhaustive, to be quite honest, right? Like, I know this is not good.
Yeah.
I get it. I am living in the same and driving on the same freeway. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah, 2 thoughts there. When Julianne was speaking, I was thinking about when I first started managing people at the company I was at last. There was this analogy about bringing your monkeys into the office. So like your direct reports would bring their monkeys in, which were basically an analogy for their problems. And they'd leave the monkeys in your office and then leave and be like, oh, all those monkeys are gone. I don't have to worry about anything. And then you had to deal with all the monkeys. And it was always like, no, you're taking your monkeys with you. You don't leave these in with me. What's the solutions? Talk me through it. And then you take them with you. And then Ruma, when you were talking about the traffic, I think we all know that person that comes into the office or you meet and it's just never like a positive start. It's always like, oh, the traffic. You're like, hey, how you doing? The traffic's horrible on 101. I couldn't find parking when I got here. And you're just like rolling your eyes in the back of your head, like, here they go again, instead of like, it's a fantastic day. The sun's out and I'm loving life, right? Very different. How you live in those 2 different spaces.
I'm so
almost like-
happy I made it here in time. We all know we all actually drove the same way. So I think it's just your attitude. It's the attitude and the approach to things really is one of those things. Julianne, you were saying something.
I was going to say, I feel like people say, how are you? If they're complaining, I'm on the right side of the dirt. Like, it's another day. I woke up on the right side of the dirt. I mean, what is there to complain about? But I think the thing is how to manage that, how to interact, whether it's a colleague, because we've all had a sourpuss, Debbie Downer colleague, right? It could be someone you report to, but it's in the ethos. And, so it can be in I have it in my personal life too. And I'm just wondering, like, what kind of stress, because, I can have bubbles blowing out of my rear end. That's not going to change somebody else's perspective. And it's like, I would love to hear from you guys. It's like, what do you guys have in your secret toolkit to kind of address this? And it's not just challenging the person. It's like, how is it possible to kind of bring them around or have them have a shift or, you know what I'm saying? Like for their own good.
I mean, I remember when go back to that direct report analogy, I remember saying you had to come with 2 solutions. Like any problem you were having, I wanted 2 solutions, and we talked through it, and eventually you were gonna make that decision because people are also afraid to make decisions, and they always turf them off to somebody else. That way they can say, "Oh, it wasn't my decision," and they don't own it. So making that decision together, you walk away with your solution and you try it. If it didn't work, hey, we talked through it, we made a good decision, and it didn't work out. What are we gonna learn from it and move on? So those were kind of some of the things I did when it came to driving solutions when I at least was leading teams.
Yeah, I want to build on that, right? I mean, what kind of a person do you want to be? But also, how can you bring that person to the place where they are living in the solution phase, right? To say, okay, well, we all know that this is an issue. What are you going to do about it? And many times people look to us to give them advice because guess what? If it doesn't work out, then it was not their solution.
Absolutely, yeah.
They're like, no, no, no. This is something. Come up with like, what are you gonna do? Because your solution may actually be different from what I do, right? And so it is really, I think, the best thing you can do to help anybody, whether it's a direct report or a peer or somebody in your family, is to actually give them the tools to get to that a place where they can be in the solution space, right? And so,
Think about how exhausting it is to solve everybody else's problems. I got
oh,
all my own problems to deal with. I'm not
But
gonna be solving your own.
totally, but also I feel like even as I listen, I mean, and maybe it's part of the ethos, like, culturally right now, but it's like even in the media, pointing I mean, we all see the problems, right? And all you do if you talk about problems is get more problems. You know, it's for unfortunately not my dad was an engineer, and that's solution oriented. Like, the bottom line is when a problem comes up, what are we gonna do about it? And whatever problem I brought to him, it was always immediately to solution thinking. Like, it was just never like grousing about it or bemoaning me, you know. And so maybe like, especially as I've gotten older, because I'm sure I was a bemoaner much more when I was younger. It's like, okay, well, how do we solve this? Like, that's all you're trying to get to, right? But I don't know how to get other people there.
I think we can model that behavior. We can be that model to say, hey, you know what? Yeah, sure. What there are some things you can't do anything about.
Mhm.
You can't.
Yeah,
There are some
yeah.
things which are not in your control. But what is in your control? And maybe that's the first place to start. Like I have to do this every day with my kids, right? Like here is a problem. Like what can you do about it? Is it related to you or is it related to the other person, right? And sometimes you may actually choose to do nothing, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Sometimes you just have to know which is a problem that you can solve, but at least you have moved past and made peace with it because, being that person who's complaining, but also the recipient of that complaint can be exhausting.
Can be for sure.
And I think, so it's how you approach it to say, yes, I need your advice. Hey, Julianne, I'm having this problem. I'll talk about it for 2 minutes. Like, I am thinking. And then you could probably, you know, help me suggest or give advice, but it is still my solution.
Yeah.
I worked for Jerry. I wanna say Jerry's the best boss I ever had, first of all. So and one thing I remember you doing is if I would come do something, it's like, "Do you want me to do" I don't remember exactly what they were, but they were like roles.
Coach, listen, or make a decision, right? Because sometimes you just wanna come and vent. You're like, "Ah, this is just not going the way I want it to go," and you're like, "Oh, you want me to listen," right? So I'm listening, and then you're like, "Okay, I'm good. I'm leaving now," right? And they walk out, or they're like, "I can coach. You want me to coach you through this, or do you want a decision?" Right? So those were the 3, but please go on.
We used to talk about greenhousing. Remember the greenhousing of
Yeah.
ideas?
Yeah.
Suspend, understand, and nurture.
Mm.
How to have good ideas grow. Remember, we used
Sounds
to.
like a future podcast.
I like this. I haven't heard this before. I like this. Go.
So you can go to somebody and you can present this, and they can say, yes, but, right? So if somebody's coming to you and looking for an advice, how do you show up? Julianne, you asked, what can we do? Maybe you can become that greenhouse for them to help them grow that idea to solve the problem. And so there are some few words that we use, right? So we say yes, which is the right start, but then you say, yes, but I like your idea, but I don't think it's going to work, right? And then the other one is yes, and yes, we should do a podcast and we should. So then you're growing the idea. You're helping
Mm.
them come to a solution. We want to do something fun together where we can come together and share our life experiences, and then somebody came up with this, hey, podcast, and then we kind of built on it. Look at how this podcast came together, right? So how can you be that person who actually grows and helps the person get to the next step is sort of what role we can play.
I like it. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. And I feel like also in terms of this kind of ethos, something I want to kind of go back to something Ruma said when she's talking about talking to her kids. I think it's super important is like, what is this? Because is this a you problem or is this not a you problem? Like, it may be a problem, but it may not be a you problem. And also something I learned so late in life that I have feel it like is so valuable. No response is a response. Like no, you know what I'm saying? Like no response is a perfectly valid response. You get an email. It's like, I used to, have to like ring myself up, like trying to come up with the right wordsmithing to say no or to give a, feedback. Nah, it's not even answering. Like that is my response. And it's funny to think how old I had to be to get comfortable with that.
Right. Yeah. No, it's true.
No response is a response. You're right.
No response is actually a very powerful response, right? And not every, also, I think as you get older, the recognition that not every problem can be solved. And sometimes you're just going to have to put it on a shelf and move on because it can't be, it is not meant to be for that time. And so, to your point, is it a you problem or somebody else's? And if it is somebody else's, you cannot solve it.
Yeah.
That recognition and the acknowledgement, and oh my God, I have so many of those experiences.
Mhm.
And when somebody tells me it's not your problem, I'd be like, oh, really? But then they're like, yeah, you're right. So I think wisdom amongst us is everybody has problems. It's how you approach it is really how
Yeah. I was
differentiate.
watching I was watching Star Trek. I'm a big Star Trek fan, whatever.
Me
I think it
too.
was Discovery. It was on Paramount Plus
The
and
tribbles. I miss the tribbles.
Tribbles. There was the captain said something like they were in a crisis, and everyone was kind of like, we don't, shields are going down and we can't do this. And he's like, he turned around to everybody. He's like, listen, I love debate, right? I get it, but I need solutions. Like, give me some solutions. And then that changed the whole trajectory of everybody. Like, okay, well, we could try this. He's like, great, let's do that. Right. And they kind of got out of the mess because they moved from like talking about what current situation they're in to thinking about what the solution could be. So that kind of hit me too. I'm gonna have to dig up that quote from Captain Christopher Pike. It was pretty good.
Yeah, that's really powerful. I think that's really what we are looking at, right? Is everybody is going to come with problems. Everybody has problems. And then it's like, let's live in the solution phase if you truly want to do something about it.
Yeah, for sure.
I was watching a movie recently. This stuck out to me. It's in this kind of the same. I'm trying to remember the name of the movie. Oh, it's with Tom Hanks, and he's like a lawyer for this guy who's like a Russian spy. I forget what I can, but bottom line is this guy gets caught doing espionage and he's put in jail. And Tom Hanks has to, like, as a pro bono, he's like a very acclaimed attorney, I think in like Philadelphia, and he has to represent him. And then he goes into the guy's jail cell, and the guy's super chill, right? And this is like a federal crime, like death penalty, who knows, whatever. And he says, aren't you worried? And the guy says to him, would that help? And that really, like, right? Like the bottom line is all like, yeah, does it help? And it's like, why put yourself through that? And that's been, let me say, in the last 2 months, I saw this movie. So pivotal, like, yeah, what good does the worry do? It's not helping. You don't feel better and it doesn't in any way impact the problem.
That's so good. I love that. Will it help?
Right. Yeah, he's like, will you like question, like really, like, will it help? And it's like, yeah, no, it won't. Like, so why bother?
Well, ladies, we're coming up on time.
Yeah. Well, I think,
Anybody want to recap what we talked about?
well, I'm going to remember the Star Trek. Everybody is going to tell you what the problem is, but who can come up with the solutions? Julianne, worrying is not going to solve anything. So let's just focus on the problem and focus on solving it, right? Because everybody has problems. It's what you do to it. And maybe one last thing from me is be that greenhouse for people. If they come to you with a problem, try to help them, but don't own their problem. And certainly don't tell them what to do.
Agree. And I take your monkeys with you. That's what I
Your
always remember.
monkey, your circus, your monkeys, they go.
I got my own monkeys. I cannot take others. Let me tell you, it was great chatting with everyone.
Yeah, it was a good catch up again.
Yeah. All right. Take care, guys.
All
Bye.
right, guys, signing off.